Welcome to the X106 Podcast on YouTube again. This is our third week on YouTube. Second week for our group of guys for this one in rotation. Devin, Albertson, Jonathan Bynum, Nienow, and Trevor Maeder be on this week's podcast. We'll look at the NFL contenders list, who's going to challenge the Patriots in the AFC and who in the NFC is going to come out to the Super Bowl. We'll talk about some college football, including the rankings coming out. And, of course, college basketball starts this weekend, so we're going to get a little prediction preview into that here on the X106 Podcast. All right, first topic for our podcast this week is the NFL contenders list. Starting the AFC, right now the playoff picture goes the New England Patriots, the Oakland Raiders, Houston Texans, Baltimore Ravens, Kansas City Chiefs, and Denver Broncos if you look at the playoff picture. But national media this past week has been right on the Raiders bandwagon. Let's see what everybody here thinks about that hot take by the national media. Who wants to go first here?
Oh, I have no problem going first.
Okay, Trevor's up. Let's go.
Oakland looked really good Sunday night. They really did. It was the first game I think they've played all year where the offense and defense looked like they were intact. I'm still not sure they're the best team in the AFC West. Maybe it's because I'm a Chiefs fan. Maybe it's because I've seen a lot of games between both teams. And maybe it's because, I don't know, Kansas City beat Oakland by 16 earlier this year, too.
Oakland.
At Oakland in a game where they shut down that high-power Oakland offense. Derek Carr, right now, it might be the front runner for MVP aside from maybe Matt Ryan or Tom Brady. He's having a great year. The kid really is a special talent and is going to torture Chiefs fans for the next how many years if things stay the way they are. But they had one good game against Denver as a whole. You think they gave up 34 to New Orleans. How many did Kansas City give up? 21. You know, they've struggled with some teams. I think they're a good team. I think they're probably I'm not sure that I can say the Chiefs are the second best team in the AFC. I think a healthy Pittsburgh team is probably the second best team in the AFC, but who knows if we'll see that. So I don't understand why, national media 2 weeks ago was saying, well, the Raiders aren't that good. They can't play defense. Their offense can't lift them. And now they're the best team in the AFC other than New England. And the Chiefs don't have an offense and they don't have a defense, which isn't true. The Chiefs are in the top of almost every defensive category when it comes to turnovers, interceptions, red zone turnovers. They've allowed way less points than Oakland. And what won the Super Bowl last year? Was it special teams or offense? What did Denver have that was so good last year?
It might have been their defense.
Yeah,
they had Seattle 3 years ago.
Yeah, they had really good offenses are more fun to watch. Don't get me wrong.
But they don't win championships.
But they don't win as many championships.
Offense sells tickets. Defense wins.
If you look at the historically great offenses that have won championships, the 99 Rams.
Yep.
That's my list. You look at defense. You have Denver last year, Seattle a couple years ago, Tampa in 2002, Baltimore in 2000, the 85 Bears. Those were all great defenses. They won championships. I'm not saying the Chiefs are at that level, but I think defensively they are a better team, and they're not a terribly offensive team.
I mean, okay, you look at FPI, which is the Football Power Index that the ESPN puts out. The Chiefs, our total team FPI is 12th, offensive 18th, defensive 4th, special teams 5th. So the Chiefs are just a solid team all around, and no one really wants to play them because they don't make mistakes. In the NFL, the easiest way to lose is to beat yourself. Making turnovers, dumb penalties, stuff like that. Yes, they had that one Travis Kelce thing was kind of funny, but it's also really dumb on Sunday. But they usually don't have those episodes where they just make boneheaded mistakes, and they play good defense. They don't turn the ball over. They're efficient. They win the field position battles. They make you make mistakes. So that's a good chemistry to win, which is why I think they have a better chance, say, against New England in the playoffs, because Oakland is a young team. They make a lot of mistakes, a lot of penalties. They had, 23 2 weeks ago versus Tampa.
And they had quite a few Sunday night, too.
Yeah, they're going to make mistakes. They're a young team. I don't think that's the formula that you can go to New England and beat the Patriots in the playoffs in January. And I think the Chiefs have the recipe to do it, especially with Justin Houston. If he comes back and is healthy and plays well, that could really help with D Ford also playing well right now, which is surprising all Chiefs fans. So I think if that happens, the Chiefs are the biggest contender to the Patriots just because of the style they play. Pittsburgh could be, once they get healthy, as you said, and they play up to their competition and down to their competition a lot. They're a really up-and-down team, but if they play good teams week in, week out, I think Pittsburgh will be better towards the end of the year. So I think it's New England, Chiefs, Pittsburgh, which I wouldn't want to play Pittsburgh again in the playoffs because what they did last time with the Chiefs, and then Oakland probably 4th. Denver's still there because they have great defense. This Trevor Siemian's bad.
I think you could argue, too, with Pittsburgh. You go back and look at Pittsburgh last year. If Ben Roethlisberger's playing that game in Denver at 100% and they have Antonio Brown and even D'Angelo Williams, I think Pittsburgh wins that game. You remember
they
were
beat Cincinnati the week before, though.
Yeah, they shouldn't have, but they did, and they should have beat Pittsburgh or Denver, and they didn't. If you remember, they were up driving when Fitzgerald Toussaint coughs that ball up, and it totally changes the game. If that's D'Angelo Williams, he probably doesn't fumble the ball. If he's throwing Antonio Brown, who knows what could happen?
Yep, it's definitely a possibility. Pittsburgh's always there, and you never count Big Ben out in the playoffs. This is my thing with them, so that's what I like there. But after you get past the AFC West and then Pittsburgh and New England, there's not a whole lot of other people that I'm scared of.
What about Jacksonville?
Houston, Baltimore,
Stop it.
Miami, no. I mean, all these other playoff teams that are
Even
close,
Buffalo's kind of fallen off a cliff the last couple weeks.
they've lost 3 straight. Yeah,
I think Cincinnati might be the only one that could bounce back.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, Cincinnati, they're talented, but they're also way out of the playoff picture. They're only half game out in their division, which is what the biggest thing for them to get back in the playoff picture. AFC just the top. I think right now the Patriots, the AFC West is playing well. No one else is sticking out to me at all. Houston, I don't trust Brock Osweiler at all.
Who's going to win that division? Does anybody know? My money is on Tennessee.
Probably Houston, just because they have a
Houston
good
toasting the
defense.
Super Bowl.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Okay. No, they're not even in the playoffs because you have a guy named Andrew Luck in Indy. I know their roster's awful, but he's going to carry them to a playoff win because I trust him over Mariota and Houston right now. Tennessee's defense is not good at all. They can run the ball on offense, but their defense is bad.
Mariota's playing very well.
He's forcing the ball because he knows his defense is bad.
What they have behind him. The coaching staff for the Titans is very, very bad. But, I mean, he's still taking his team and trying to win games. I mean, they were, a fumble 6 and a pick 6 from Mariota away from actually beating the Chargers.
Oh, yeah, and when you have starting receivers like Rashard Matthews and Taja Sharp. And
Didn't
Kendall
they trade
Wright
DGB?
Yeah, they traded
Yes.
DGB to Philly. Now their best receiving option is Delaney Walker, their tight end.
I mean, he's
He's good, but he's not
points.
like a guy that you're enticed with fear.
Even DeMarco Murray hasn't quite been.
DeMarco Murray's still been pretty good.
He's been decent,
he's
but
second.
DeMarco Murray will never
second
be,
league in rushing right
DeMarco
now.
Murray will never be what he was 2 years ago.
No, but he is
And
second
part
league
of
in
that,
rushing
and
right
part
now.
of that is Chip Kelly's
He hasn't
fault.
completely fallen off yet.
Yeah, he hadn't completely. Last year was bad in Philly. It was the wrong system for him. But he has 807 yards already in the year. Ezekiel Elliott has 891. After that, Melvin Gordon's third with 708.
Who would have predicted that?
I mean, he's playing well.
Where's Todd Gurley at on that list?
They're
He's got
way
to
down.
be way
'cause
down.
LA does not run the ball anymore for some reason. I don't know.
When
We're
you
gonna
have
trust
Case Keenum at quarterback, you think that'd be your offense every play.
He's 18th on the list, only 451 yards. So, speaking of LA, we'll head to the NFC. Unless you have anything to add, Jonathan? AFC before we head
None.
over?
You guys covered up pretty much what I was going to say.
pretty-
Patriots are still going to be on top. The Raiders are still doing very well. Derek Carr's going to be a solid MVP candidate. Chiefs, I really hope the Chiefs win the AFC West. It's just a feeling that I have being from Kansas City. And Steelers, if they stay healthy, they're still going to be a playoff contender. And, hey, who knows about the AFC South? I'm pretty sure it's going to be the Colts since Andrew Luck's
At probably 9. I'd be surprised whoever wins that division wins more than 9 games. I don't see it happening. I mean, what's Houston at?
anyone in that
5-3, 5-4?
Houston?
Yeah,
Houston
they're at
is
5-3.
5-3. So okay, I mean they'd have to go 5-3 the rest of the season.
I
and
can
don't
see Houston.
Brock Osweiler to me is like Jay Cutler, guys. He'll go out and play one game where it's just total garbage when it matters.
I'm not gonna go that far with Brock Osweiler. He's not as talented as Jay Cutler, but he also doesn't have the bad attitude Cutler has. I'm not gonna go that far.
But
with
when
him.
you
I will
look at
give him the Jay Cutler
when you look at
curse.
expectation wise, though, he goes out and plays against Denver on Monday night and looks terrible. But then he goes out against Detroit the next week and he looked all right. He looked
I'd almost
decent.
give him more like a Ryan Tannehill label.
Yeah, maybe that's more like it. Or Ryan
I mean, we're
Tannehill.
comparing bad to bad here.
Mediocre all yeah.
So
I'm mad because Brock Osweiler had a lot of potential. He's like 6'7", and he can see right over the defense. That can be overpowered, but it's just he's not using all of his.
Isn't Bryce Petty
potential.
6'7"?
I don't
I
think he's
believe
that
so.
tall.
He's
I don't
6
know.
something.
I think
isn't he?
he's
He's gotta
6'5".
That's pretty tall for a quarterback. I think Bryce Petty's
I
probably.
mean, Andrew Luck 6'5".
Bryce
Cam
Petty's
Newton,
probably the
6'5".
right call in New York.
Brock
Bryce
Osweiler
Petty-
is 6'8".
Bryce
so
Petty's
he's
6'3".
I think with New York, Petty's the way to go for the rest of the season. 'Cause you're not going to win that division. You're probably not going to make a wild card. Why not see if you
Trust Patrick. I mean,
Patrick-
he's hurt.
I'm not
What,
gonna.
a sprained knee, I think is what it was, something
It
like
was
that.
MCL sprain.
MCL sprain. So why not go Petty? See what you have. See if you're willing to put your faith in him next year, or draft a another quarterback like a Deshaun Watson or a Mitch Trubisky.
They're not going to drop that far to be able to
They're
get
3-6
Watson,
right
though.
now, which is
Well, yeah,
They're
but they
3
still
and
have to get
6.
past
All
the
that
Browns.
you figure, but 5 wins, you're probably picking top 10. You never know what kind of deals are going to happen either.
See, that's true, but I mean,
right now they'd be picking 5th in the
Fifth?
draft. Only
Cleveland will be
San
1, and
Fran,
they'll
Chicago, Jacksonville, Jets.
Jacksonville could get a.
No, they'll probably take
sorry, not
Bortles.
Jacksonville.
Jacksonville won't
Chicago
take a quarterback.
will.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Top
Chicago.
3 teams can all pick quarterbacks, though.
Chicago probably they should. Doesn't
San
mean they
Fran
will.
probably should. Cleveland should. I mean,
See, but no one wants to go to Cleveland. You're like, oh, well, now my career's over.
Yeah,
well, they have to.
unless you're LeBron.
Literally the
Unfortunately, well,
Philadelphia
that's a
76ers
That's a
of the
different
NFL.
sport.
All right, well, we'll head to the NFC real quick here. Right now, the NFC playoff picture, top 6 seeds would be Dallas, Seattle, Atlanta, Minnesota, New York, Giants, and the Washington Redskins.
If you told me this going into the year, I'd be like, what are you smoking? There's no way this is going to happen. And as it's played out, like if, it happened. I don't know. Well, I mean, I know
Detroit's
how.
a half game out of the playoffs right now.
Detroit's a fun team to watch, honestly.
Yeah, but
I
they
like
also-
watching that Detroit team.
they
Just like
also-
I like watching San Diego. Those might be the 2 funnest teams to watch.
They also lost to the Bears. So,
True.
I mean,
Well, so the Vikings. I mean, they've fallen off.
the Vikings
a cliff
have the
last-
line that could consist of us 4 in this room, and we could do on par
Creighton.
with, yeah.
We'll take Creighton over with us.
It's
Yeah.
great.
and
He was a
poor,
lineman in high school.
That's a
and
lot.
poor Green Bay too. You would think this would be their time where they could take
Yeah.
advantage of Minnesota's missteps,
Green
and they're
Bay's
right there
just
with them.
falling off.
They're a game out of the playoffs right now.
So what's
Still, but they
They just got dominated at home by the Colts. That's just not good. Colts aren't a good road team.
Colts aren't a good
that's
team.
yeah.
They're not, they're
No,
bad.
They're not a good team, but they can put up points.
Either
Who's going to
Da-
come out
Because
of the
Andrew
NFC?
Luck
Man,
is
this
such a
is-
great
Let's
quarterback.
stop talking about all these mediocre teams
Dallas-
in the NFC. Who's actually going to win the NFC this year?
The NFC. That's still
Who's the
that's-
actual contenders?
I want to say
Dallas.
Dallas, but I still feel like maybe there's this like super Cowboys.
Everyone's
choke
just kind of
going.
like
Dallas
waiting
is-
back.
Dallas has played better football than they have in years. So
and their
with the-
defense hasn't been terrible. Like
Their
it's
defense
not,
also isn't out there for like
Boom.
more than probably 25 minutes. And if they can do just enough to not give up 40 points a game, then their offense can come out and score just enough. Because Dak's playing, he's not playing like great superstar like that, but he is playing.
but
good
Ezekiel
enough.
Playing
Elliott is.
solid.
Ezekiel Elliott is though. I was going to get to
And
that.
Dak's not
Yep.
making mistakes, letting Zeke take over
Dak's,
offensive line.
Dak's playing really smart for a rookie quarterback. That is
Well, I mean, it's a hard.
that
I mean,
is that is surprising. I didn't expect that. I think Green Bay is going to get stuff figured out.
I
I-
really hope so.
I
As
think so. I think Carolina's going to get stuff figured out.
I just hope
I-
it's not this week.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it's not. I'd be fine if they win out after this week. But I think
4
Carolina's
and
getting stuff
6.
figured
They're
out.
3-5 right now.
I think
they'd be 3-5.
They would be.
I think
What am I
Atlanta's
thinking?
for real. I'm not sure that a Thursday night throbbing against Tampa Bay really means too much.
Atlanta
but
needs to prove to me that they can continue to win because yes, they're now on a 2-game win streak, but they were 4-0 and then they just
and
went
see
like,
the NFL's weird this year where there's really not like one like with the exception of the Patriots, you could argue like one powerhouse team because you look at a team like Detroit will go out and they'll lose to Chicago, and then they'll play teams like Minnesota real close, and even Cleveland's playing teams close, or they had been. They didn't this past Saturday or Sunday against the Cowboys, but they are playing teams close. So it's just a weird year. I like Dallas right now. I don't know what to think of Seattle. I kind of like Seattle if they can get stuff figured.
By the
figured out
way,
there.
the refs are the Seattle 12th man.
Oh, geez,
For
stop
any
it.
that
No,
that game
that-
last night was very very.
I think they're the
suspect.
13th man. If I mean,
You know
because
what?
you got
Either
the 12th
way,
man, and you
there were some
got,
suspect
well,
calls.
Seattle's close enough to Canada. They play with 12 men up there, so
It's
I
true.
don't, I don't
It's
see
true.
I don't see the problem with it. I think Seattle, the way they have their defense, Russell Wilson's a perfect quarterback for that defense. Russell Wilson is not a great quarterback, but he's a great leader. Russell Wilson's like a more athletic Alex Smith, really. I mean, he doesn't make a ton of mistakes.
All he does is win.
All he does is win. He's got a good team behind him. When people tell me you can't win a Super Bowl with Alex Smith, I present them Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson, he's got the legs, but he's been hurt the past few weeks, so he's had to be more of a pocket guy.
How many times do you hear Eli Manning get hurt?
Never.
Eli Manning's never missed a game.
Okay,
will say-
I don't.
I will
I
say
don't know
this,
that,
though.
but
No, he never has.
He really hasn't. It's baffling how he's never been benched or anything like that.
That is
But
the baffling part.
I was listening to different national syndicated radio station over the they're like talking about Cam Newton, how he always get hit. The guy's like, Well, okay, I get Cam Newton gets hit a lot, but if anybody quarterback has a reason to complain about getting hit later in the head, it's Alex Smith.
I think you were listening to the same one I was.
Yeah, I mean, and
Does the guy you're listening to hate Iowa? Because that's who I was listening to. Okay, then it was the same guy. We're talking to you, Colin Coward.
Every day. 'Cause I'm sure he's listening to this podcast. I hope he does. It'd be great. But there's a stat ESPN put up. Most wins the starting quarterback the last 4 years. Brady with 40, Russ Wilson 39, Alex Smith and Cam Newton 35 apiece. So it just shows that you can win with Alex Smith. He wins a lot of games. It just
I mean, if you have the right guys, on defense and the right guys,
he's not going to carry
him.
anybody, but you can take a good team to a really good team with Alex Smith, and you can win a couple playoff games.
I've always said that if you give Alex the right weapons, he can take you where you want to go. Your Alex Smith is not like a Peyton Manning or an Andrew Luck, where if you take Alex Smith and put him in Indianapolis, you're probably winning 4 games, because we saw that in San Francisco before Harbaugh came there.
Well,
a lot of people.
I'll defend Alex Smith on that. He had like 7 years of 7 different offensive
and
everything.
That's just it too. A lot of people attested to that Alex Smith was a bust. What they didn't realize is he didn't really have a chance, because every year he had a different offense coordinator or a different head coach, and it wasn't really attractive to get talent to come to San Francisco until Harbaugh was there. Statistically, Alex is not a bad quarterback. His stats aren't sexy, but they're not terrible.
I think it showed a lot this week when everyone saw Nick Foles against Jacksonville, how much Alex Smith is vital to this team.
Nick Foles makes you nervous.
Because Nick Foles, he's going to make the big play. He's also going to throw the ball 10 yards over the receiver, where it should have been picked off by Jacksonville in the opening drive. For some reason, it's Jacksonville, so they dropped it. Nick Foles is going to do that. But let's get back on track a little bit here to the NFC. And who you think going to come out of the NFC? I know everybody's high on the Cowboys. Seattle's always there. Atlanta has a really good offense. Some people question what they're going to do on the road out of the Dome in the playoffs in cold weather. Same thing kind of with Minnesota. Their line's really banged up. I know this is not a sexy pick at all, but the 5 seed right now in the NFC is the New York Giants. They do this every time.
That's exactly
they
what
start
I was
really
just
well,
thinking.
And they get mediocre. They find their flaws and everything the other year. They'll finish 10-6, 9-7, and somehow make a magical run through the playoffs and play the Patriots in the Super Bowl and somehow beat them. And no one gets it why. But you know what?
But no one
Eli
complains.
What?
No one will ever. If you're Giants or Patriots in the Super Bowl, who are you taking? I'm taking the Giants every day.
I mean, I'm going to take the Giants only because that's what
I personally
history has told me.
Eli Manning has the golden scroll on how to beat the Patriots.
For real.
I personally just only for that. I love Eli Manning.
Like 2 rings on Tom Brady's head.
Odell Beckham would put on a show. I don't know what it would be.
And I'm a big Odell Beckham fan, so I always pull for the guy. So that'd be great to see him.
If the Giants had a better quarterback than Eli Manning, that's a 12-win team.
I think it still could. Not this year probably, because they're 5-3, but they've been a 12-win team before with them.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, but he's also getting a bit older, and
Eli gets a lot of. He has. Eli's 34, 35. I'd be surprised if he's got 5 years on him. I mean, his brother played till he was like 106.
Peyton also didn't really get hit, and if he did, he just kind of like flopped on the ground.
Eli is 35.
Okay, 35, so he's. I'd say 3 more seasons, probably 4.
Three or four,
probably 3 after
quality
this one.
seasons.
I think 3 at quality. The 4th one he goes even more Eli Manning than usual.
You just see a lot of picks.
And also Peyton, he went downhill really fast because of his injury to his neck. That would really kind of
I
think Peyton would have been fine.
Couple years.
But when you can't feel your fingers, that's kind of a difficult thing to play quarterback with.
It would have been great if he'd went to Kansas City.
Yeah,
maybe.
Peyton Manning thought about it. It was either Kansas City or Denver.
He was originally going to go to Seattle. He actually was on a plane to fly to talk to Pete Carroll. And who was the head coach at Denver at the time? Was it John Fox?
Yeah.
Wouldn't let him leave until they signed a contract. Could you imagine that Seattle defense with a good Peyton Manning? Then Russell Wilson would have probably went to the Eagles.
They also probably would have ran the ball instead of thrown it, but that's beside the point.
But still, they would have been.
I'm talking 2000.
Saying.
No, look at 2013
Super Bowl.
Look at 2013 Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
Where he threw for like 87,000 yards.
Yeah, that's a scary team.
Can you imagine him with that Seahawks defense? They could have gone 16-0.
I don't know. I don't ever.
I'm not saying they would have, but they could have.
I don't pick any team to go undefeated.
I don't either.
All right, but let's get everybody's pick to get out of the NFC this year. I'm taking the Giants just to be an oddball. What do you got for me, Sean?
My pick is either Dallas, Seattle, or the Falcons because I think
taking chalk top 3, just whatever.
Yeah, well, because no one else is really be like, hey, we're
no one's really sticking
super
out
good.
To you.
Yeah, no one's done that. So.
What do you got for me, Trevor?
I was thinking this earlier. I like your Giants pick. I've kind of leaned the same way the last couple of years. I'm gonna go Giants because this doesn't seem like a year they're gonna win it all, which means they're gonna win it all.
What do you got,
Giants, Cardinals.
Dallas is on a tear this year, so definitely they're going to be on top. But I'm not quite sleep on the Giants yet because they're still they pulled miracles out of nowhere before, and then the Seahawks are still a great. They're walking on a tightrope, but they're still doing fine. So yeah, those three.
All right, so we'll come back and we'll talk some college football here on the X106 podcast. And here we go for the college football rankings. As we're gonna rankings haven't come out for this week. It's gonna come out. We're doing this podcast on Tuesday night. It's gonna come down like an hour after we get this done, but we're gonna talk about it anyways. Top 4 last week was Alabama, Clemson, Michigan, Texas A&M. Top 3 rolled. I guess Michigan technically didn't. Yeah, the top 3 rolled. Alabama, I guess, didn't roll. Sorry, I'm rambling. A&M, they lost to Mississippi State. At 5, Washington beat Cal. Number 6, Ohio State demolished Nebraska. Number 7, Louisville, they won big. And Wisconsin won, along with Auburn at 9. And, of course, Nebraska, they lost. So that's top 10 from last week. What do you guys see coming out this week in the college football rankings?
Chalk. I mean, I think you're gonna go Alabama, Clemson, Michigan. Those are probably a no-brainer. 1, 2, 3.
Yep, I agree.
I personally, for the 4th one, I would go Washington because they're 9-0. I get they haven't really played anybody yet, but I would not be surprised if the committee goes Ohio State instead because they're gonna look at previous work and what they've done. But if Washington goes 12-0, they should be in the playoff, and I'm guessing will be. But they got a tough test this week against USC. USC's came too. Their quarterback, Sam Darnold, he's, I think, a freshman. Yep. I love watching that kid play. He's a lot of fun to play. I wouldn't be surprised if USC pulls off the upset this weekend, but I think you got to go Washington 4, Ohio State 5. Wisconsin and Louisville, you can kind of interchange those at 6 and 7, and then Auburn 8. And let's not forget about Oklahoma at number 9.
All right, that's Trevor. Jonathan or Sean, which one to go next?
Obviously,
Jonathan.
Alabama, Michigan, Clemson are going to be top 3. Washington's a fantastic team this year, so yeah, they're 4. Louisville, I think Louisville could maybe top Washington if Washington loses here recently. And Ohio State took a big W the other day by beating Nebraska. So
put the hammer down.
All my friends that have been Nebraska fans, like, they were really quiet. I mean, they were waiting to.
Well, what do you know? If you lose a game 62-3,
I'd be quiet too.
Yeah,
well, I mean, and it's like I'm an Iowa fan, and we got beat by 27, but that's still like 30 points less than they got.
It was 35-0 in the first quarter, wasn't it, against Stanford?
It was 28-0.
28-0. I'm sorry, I forget how many touchdowns.
It was 28-0 at halftime. It was 20-0 at halftime. But thanks for
forgot how many.
That was last year. As a Nebraska fan, said that was last year. This is a new year. We're bouncing back. We're 5-4. We've improved on our 12-2 record from last year. But the Ohio State game, that is as the anti-Nebraska, that was a fun game to watch. But if you were a Nebraska fan, it was painful. And thankfully, Tommy Armstrong is okay.
Yep. What do you got for me, Sean?
Yeah, I'm going to go Alabama, Clemson, Michigan. I'm going to put Washington in the number 4 spot. Ohio State is either like Michigan and Ohio State, one of them is going to get in. It just depends on
who wins that game.
Yeah, who wins that game, because I think that they're better than the whichever division side they're on. I don't know, because I'm not a big
They'll be better than Wisconsin or Nebraska.
Yes.
Big game.
And then Louisville, they're just like fun to watch, but they're not going to get into the top 4.
Louisville almost lost to Virginia.
That's fine. They're still fun to watch.
Oh, absolutely.
They also destroyed Boston College. If that makes
they did.
Sense.
Lamar Jackson had 7 touchdowns.
That's it.
That's it.
They're going to try to get him more touchdowns. Bobby Petrino won that Heisman Trophy.
He's going to get the Heisman.
And that's fine. Jim Harbaugh is going to do the same thing in Michigan with Real Peppers. That's totally fine. It looks good as a coach from a recruiting standpoint, too, when you can have a recruit walk by your office and there's your replica of the Heisman Trophy, and then they can go and meet Lamar Jackson, the Heisman Trophy winner. The kid's been a stud. I still like Deshaun Watson. Lamar Jackson, I'm not sure. Has Lamar Jackson had that Heisman moment yet, though?
No, but
he's been great all year long.
Yeah, that's the thing.
But also, they gave Derrick Henry the Heisman last year.
Yeah.
Can we all agree that was...
They had to give it to someone, and they gave
Christian
it to
McCaffrey, Deshaun Watson.
Deshaun Watson.
I don't know if Watson should have won it last year, but maybe more deserving than Henry was. I think McCaffrey should have won it last year.
I
That's
agree.
just me. But
Baker Mayfield is probably more deserving than Derrick Henry.
I don't know about that. but it's close. It's quarterback, running back. Always hard to get that discussion going. For me, I have Alabama, Clemson, Michigan. Kind of like everybody said, that's gonna go chalk. Each team. I mean, Clemson and Michigan both won by 50 plus. Alabama went to LSU at night in Death Valley, won 10-0. I know it was like an ugly game for some people.
That was a good game.
I like the low scoring games sometimes. I like the variety. I like the variety.
But it was a good ugly.
Well,
I mean, it wasn't like if Vanderbilt and Mizzou play that game
If Kansas and Rutgers play that game.
Well, that's because that'd be bad offenses playing. It's not good defenses shutting out average offenses.
I respect a game like that because it was like a chess match. You know, LSU got down there early, they missed a field goal. Alabama did the same. Jalen Hurts, like we said on Weekend Sports Kickoff, that kid's a stud. And he's only a freshman too, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh man, Alabama wins 5 national
LSU
championships in a row.
He's going to be probably gone.
He'll be gone for
3 year.
Is he a redshirt freshman or a true freshman?
He's a true freshman.
Okay, so still has 4 national championships in a row. Oh no.
Yeah, it's all right. But
I'd kill to have one.
If you look at it, LSU did a good job all game long at keeping him contained in the pocket, except for a third down and the touchdown run. They did a great job all game and 2 mistakes, and that's what it takes in a slow-scoring game like that. It's a couple mistakes. For me, for number 4, this is what I think the committee is going to do. They're going to put Ohio State at 4 just because it creates discussion, and it's a TV show now, and they want it to be talked about like Washington's getting screwed. They want that discussion because they know that the winner of Ohio State and Michigan is going to be in the playoff, and the loser will not be out. Be out, and Washington will be in if they win out. Everybody knows that.
I think if you look at overall body of work, you can
Ohio
make,
State will
you
probably
can
get
make
it
the argument that Ohio State is in.
Ohio State has wins at Oklahoma this year, which I know Oklahoma wasn't as good then as they are now, but
still
still
a good
win at
team.
Oklahoma by 21 points. They beat Wisconsin by 7. They lost at Penn State, who's now ranked probably going to be in the top 10 this week, by 3 points on the road at Whiteout, which Penn State always plays just rate that game.
I wish we would have lost to Penn State by 3 points.
They destroyed Nebraska this week. They have Michigan in a couple weeks coming up. So I think Ohio State will sneak into that 4 spot just for the discussion part. A&M's going to drop pretty far. Mainly because they lost at Mississippi State, also because the committee's going to see that Trevor Knight's out, and with him out, they're not the same team.
But here's a crazy question. What if Washington loses 1 or 2 more games this season, which who knows if they're going to, and Louisville drops 1 or 2 more games this season, and then you get to the Ohio State-Michigan game and Ohio State wins, so Michigan has 1 loss and Ohio State has 1 loss.
I mean, that's possible.
Which 1 loss? Do you go with a 1 loss?
We just want chaos. That's
yeah,
all the
I know, that's
the
total
beauty
chaos
of the system is like people complain about the BCS.
This is
but
so
they
much
still
better.
like it was fun to watch the chaos of were they going to choose Oklahoma State or Alabama? Are they which undefeated team is going to get snubbed? To me, I'm taking a 1-loss Michigan team over a 1-loss Washington team.
I don't know. They're going to weigh that conference title a lot. They'll weigh that conference title a lot. And if you look at Washington's remaining schedule, they have USC.
Let's say Colorado wins the Pac-12 championship.
Well, that's different. That means that Washington won't be the Pac-12 champion. And then if Washington beats USC, Arizona State, Washington State, and loses to Colorado or Utah,
let's get Colorado in the playoff.
Colorado won't make the playoff because, first of all, Michigan has a head-to-head over them. So Michigan would be in over a 1-loss Washington that is not a conference title champion. If Washington is a conference champion, they will be in.
See, and that's if 1 loss, I think you can make that argument. I would vote Michigan because I think
Michigan's a better team, but
I would like to
put
see
the 4
because you would probably get a Michigan-Alabama matchup in the first round, and that'd be a fun. Washington, though, Washington could probably do it too. Jake Browning's a really good quarterback.
I hope because I don't want Alabama to win. I think they're going to, but I don't want them to.
Yeah, it's going to happen. Why can't we just accept it? It's going to happen.
And then, Louisville for me is at number 6. I think they're right on the outside looking in. You look at their remaining schedule. They have Wake Forest. That's an easy W. At Houston, which Houston's fallen off a cliff.
But those are the ones that
Kentucky.
can get you sometimes.
Then versus Kentucky. They won't make a conference championship game unless somehow Clemson loses to somebody here late.
Clemson have to lose twice.
Yeah, they would have to lose. They have Pitt, Wake, and South Carolina, so they're not losing to Pitt and Wake. So
Louisville will go to a pretty decent bowl.
Louisville will probably be in a New Year's Six game with 1 loss. Yeah.
And you'll be able to see Lamar Jackson ball out after he wins the Heisman Trophy. So it's gonna be great.
Yeah, that's okay.
So you have Wisconsin. They're right in the bubble there. Auburn's still there. They're going to be waiting for that matchup with Alabama down the road. Penn State's probably going to jump in the top 10. Oklahoma's going to be close to jump in. Colorado will be close to jump in just because you have A&M following, Florida following, Nebraska following. So college football rankings come out here soon. Should be interesting. But also, a lot of this is just win and you're in pretty much for most of these teams in the top 4 or 5.
Yeah, don't worry,
take care
Washington.
of business, you're in.
You win your games and you'll be in.
Exactly.
Lose your games, that's your fault.
Yep. That's college football. We'll come back with some college basketball preview because that starts this weekend. So let's go. Go Indiana. Whoever you are on the X106 podcast. And college basketball is right around the corner. It's Tuesday now during this podcast. Friday will be the first games. And we're going to jump to Friday, see what's going on there. There's 2 top 25 matchups. They're both between top 15 opponents. Number 10, Arizona at Michigan State, who's ranked 12th. It's the Armed Force Classic out in Honolulu, Hawaii. We'll go with this one first. It's the less appealing of the two, actually. Both these teams perennially are really well coached, always kind of in that Sweet 16 Elite 8 discussion with Tom Izzo at Michigan State, and then, who was it, Sean Miller?
Sean Miller.
Out in Arizona. So kind of talk about what you kind of expect out of this Hawaii, because I know Sean, he's really invested in this tournament because Kansas is playing out there, I guess.
But that's the 8 o'clock game, so we got to focus on Arizona.
6 o'clock game. It's on
Michigan
ESPN.
State.
What do you guys think?
First off, that's not the best matchup that day. How about UMass Lowell at UMass?
No, we're not doing that. We're just gonna stay with the top.
Okay, so we're gonna go Arizona, Michigan State.
Yes.
Okay, well then you gotta give me a second here. Someone else take over.
What do you got for me, Sean?
Michigan State was really good last year. They came off of a loss. I don't remember who they lost to. It was Middle Tennessee State.
Yep.
They lost to in the
Blue
first
Raiders,
round.
Giddy
And
Pops.
it was a very bad loss for them. Arizona is ranked very high.
They lost Wichita State last year by 10 in the tournament.
So, yeah. Wichita State's kind of that team.
Best team in Kansas last year. I keep saying that just make Taylor different, man.
They've been the best team in Kansas the last couple of years.
I just like saying it to
During
make
the
it better.
tournament, yes, but that's because of other reasons.
Been to more Final Fours in the last 4 years than Kansas has.
They've been to one.
How
Still,
many?
I'm just saying.
All right, but this game should be really interesting. If you look at Arizona, who they bring it back this year, they're just a team that's always right there. They always have some.
There's not a lot Arizona brings back this year.
I guess not.
Yeah, I was looking at that. Ryan Anderson.
I was wrong. I guess they have
Caleb
two
Tarczynski.
two seniors, couple juniors, sophomores, and freshmen. They retool every year. They're out west, so no one really thinks of Arizona much when it comes to national discussion because they're out west. But they're a really talented team, and they are every year. So it's always interesting to see how they're going to do. You look at Michigan State, always well coached. Tom Izzo. You never know; they could be really bad at the beginning of the year. By the end of the year, they'll be nice and solid. So they're always just fun to watch out there in the Big Ten, which is one of the better conferences for basketball as it is for football.
I would definitely agree with that right there. The Big Ten, you look at a team like Michigan State, Ohio State's normally pretty good. Wisconsin's came on the last couple of years.
Breaking news. One second. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but Sean is handing me his phone. College football top 4. Number 1, Alabama. 2, Clemson. 3, Michigan. Number 4, Washington. 5, Ohio State.
Wow.
And 6, Louisville. So the committee made me looking idiots. Thanks a lot. So whatever.
Thanks,
But
committee.
We'll take it.
But, I mean, the Big Ten's a solid basketball conference all around. You got Michigan State, Wisconsin. Ohio State's not normally terrible. Iowa's not normally
Garbage.
terrible. Iowa's very depressing, and they're sometimes tough to watch because they have so much potential at the beginning of the year and they fall off a cliff. But
You're
they're
forgetting 2 of the 3 of the
Maryland?
best teams.
Maryland.
there you go.
I forget Maryland's in the Big Ten.
You forget 2 more.
You're talking about Indiana.
Yes, there you go. One more.
Indiana, though, is weird because last year they made the Sweet 16, and the year before Tom Crean almost got fired.
I mean, they won
So-
the conference last year.
So who knows? But I'm talking 2 years ago. I mean, Tom Crean was on the hot seat 2 years ago.
Yeah.
People are dumb.
Michigan, you never know what to get with Michigan.
Purdue.
Purdue.
Purdue, the boy.
Purdue
Well,
kind of dropped off after they lost.
I know,
some of
but
the
this is also
players.
in football season, so now they're relevant.
It's true.
It's like
just like Kansas.
Is Matt Painter still the coach at Purdue?
Yes.
I thought
The sad thing, though, for the Big Ten is Rutgers is bad in basketball, too.
Rutgers is probably the worst Power 5 basketball conference.
Northwestern's not.
Rutgers has a good women's
Northwestern still won 8
basketball
games
team.
last year in conference play. Rutgers went 1-17
Yeah,
last
that's
year.
pretty bad.
It went 7
They weren't even
25.
good in the Big East or the American Athletic. I mean, the Big East actually was, and still isn't a terrible basketball
No, I
conference.
mean-
but the Big East in its prime was a great basketball.
I mean,
conference.
Mizzou went 3-15 in the SEC. That's an awful basketball conference. They won more games than Rutgers did.
Who in the
Yeah.
world did they? South Carolina.
Yeah.
They beat LSU once. I don't know
Didn't
how.
South
but
Carolina start off like 13-0 last year? Or was it 2 years ago? They had a really
Last year.
They had a
Yeah.
really bad non-conference schedule.
All right,
Well,
but
still.
We digress.
Well, we have the games, of course. That game, which is kind of a low game for us here because we really don't really has the horse in the race there. But then you have Indiana, Kansas. It's 11 versus 3.
11 versus
11
3.
versus 3. Kansas is number 3. They didn't get any first place votes
for the AP poll.
The AP poll.
Makes sense.
AP poll was Duke 1, Kentucky 2, Kansas 3, Villanova 4, Oregon 5, with everybody in the top 5 getting votes except for Kansas, which is great. I'm a Kansas hater. I don't even care I'm so Kansas haters. I'm taking Indiana because, first of all, I don't know if I would take Indiana later if it was March, just because I think Kansas gets better as the year goes on. They never really start out well. Like, they always take time for their young talent to mesh. And Bill Self's a good coach, but you got to give him time to get that talent to go. And Indiana's really talented. I like them a lot this year. OG Anunoby, he's a guard. He's a guard post for me. He's a really good player. Probably one of the best projects coming out of the Big Ten this year. And he went to high school, the same area, the same high school as Jack Young, a safety here at Northwest. And Jack always gloats about OG, so he's kind of my guy now too because I like watching him play. I really just hope they beat Kansas because if they would beat Kansas, I might have to buy an Indiana jersey.
Yogi Ferrell graduated, didn't he? Or they still have Yogi Ferrell?
I believe he's gone.
That was one of my favorite guys in all college basketball.
He's gone.
I like both teams. You know, I'm an oddball when it comes to college basketball. I don't have a preference. I mean, I can't stand North Carolina, and then outside of that, I don't really care. I don't like Kentucky.
Williams.
Hey, man.
I can't stand Kentucky. So outside North Carolina and Kentucky, I don't really have any investment. So I'm gonna pick Kansas. Just because it seems like a game they should win, but I mean,
which means they will lose.
I'm not going to be upset regardless of the outcome.
Basketball, but
I mean, I'm Jonathan. Are you a Kansas fan?
Used to be.
Used to be. Okay.
Then he wised up.
I'm gonna be like, I'm the only Kansas fan here, which is fine because I was raised in Kansas. Whatever.
I'll give you a little bit of a pass for that.
Yeah.
I mean, you.
But I was raised in Iowa, and I don't.
No, you don't get a pass for that.
Why?
You do, because you got other choices.
So yeah, I'm gonna pick Kansas. I watched their 2 exhibition games. They played 2 MIAA opponents. They played Washburn and Emporia State. Didn't look good against Washburn. Looked a lot better against Emporia State. But you can't really take a lot from those games because it's against D2 schools. But you have to play someone for exhibition, and they've been doing that for a while. But Kansas returns their backcourt. Perry Ellis finally graduated.
He was a freshman that also comes from the championships. This is a nice little year for him. Nice little.
Those jokes are never gonna die.
No,
never gonna die.
He did look like he was like 35.
He really is.
35.
I guess in Kansas' defense, Washburn's picked second in the MIAA and Emporia 11th. So
there are also the 2 Kansas schools that are.
There's Pitt State there too.
Yeah, whatever.
Pitt State.
I don't know. They've been doing it for a while. I think they may switch out, but
yeah.
Kansas returns to backcourt. They lost Perry Ellis. Landon Lucas is going to be the starting center. Bill Self said that he may come in with a four-guard lineup, which is a bit different for Kansas because normally they'll have a big guy and like a power forward or a small forward in there. So that'll be pretty interesting to see. They have the top recruit coming out of this class. He was Josh Jackson.
Yeah, I can hear about it from the people with Josh Jackson.
So far in the 2 games, he wasn't like extraordinary, but
neither was Wiggins early though.
Yeah, so we'll see. I hope Kansas wins, but they tend to lose the first games they play against top opponents because then 4 days later they have to play Duke, and that's going to be rough.
Duke is good.
Duke's just the better team right
Grayson
now.
Grayson Allen, baby.
Duke's always the best.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Which round is Kansas going to get upset at in the NCAA tournament this year?
If any, Elite 8.
I have going to 16 this year.
I'd say probably maybe even Elite 8.
Elite 8. Well, they did lose to Villanova last year, who was the eventual champion. It's not like they were upset.
It wasn't Bucknell or Northern Iowa this year.
A Stanford team.
Kansas didn't have a big man during that, so
Embiid was hurt. Kansas probably wins the national championship that year.
And then the game against Michigan, that just hurts because they it wasn't as big of an upset, but they were up by so much.
The last time I'll ever pick Kansas to win it all.
No, but I still pick them every year. But
you're a Kansas fan. That'd be like me picking Iowa every year.
It
ain't happen. I like. Just kidding. I don't make investments on March Madness. Just kidding.
Yeah, everybody that fills a bracket out, it's always wrong. I always get like hyped the first day. It's like I got a bracket, it feels really good. For 3 games, I'm like, oh screw it. I'll go upsets.
All of them upsets.
My first the first round, I normally go 27 of 32 or something like that. There was one day last year where I think I was perfect on the Friday games or whichever day Michigan State didn't get upset. I think it was the Thursday games. I was perfect. And then Friday, I missed a couple. And then once I got to the second round, I had Final Four. I had UConn in the Final Four. That was probably not a great idea, but I didn't trust anyone else in that.
You picked Utah over Gonzaga? You're killing me, bro.
Yeah,
Gonzaga.
No, I think I actually picked. Syracuse came out of that.
One.
I picked Zaga. I picked Zaga in that one.
All right.
I'm pretty sure.
well.
I don't remember. I'd have to go
Go
look.
Zaga, go. All right.
Kyle Wilcher, baby.
Well, that's it for our college basketball talk. We'll have a quick segment over the NBA. Still early in their season. We'll just stay here with that one. The NBA, early season. Cavs are still undefeated. Warriors have tripped up a couple times. They've lost to the Spurs opening weekend, everybody knows. And they got blown out by the Lakers in LA on a back-to-back after beating OKC. So a lot of things happening in the NBA early. Stars are playing really well, which is always fun to watch. This is Jonathan Bynum's area of expertise here. He loves the NBA. What do you got for me, Jonathan?
I mean, the Rockets are playing better basketball than I've seen in a while because they got James Harden running at point guard now. So that actually should have been done a long time ago.
Him and that Clint Capella pick-and-roll game is strong.
Oh, absolutely. Clint Capella is a great inside scorer. He's a good rebounder. He's got a lot of potential. But James Harden, they took out the Wizards, 114-106. Harden had 32, 15 assists. And, hey, had 6 boards to go along with it. 6 defensive rebounds. That's something you don't hear every day from him.
You don't hear defense in the NBA.
You don't hear defense when you come up with James Harden.
Yeah.
Then I also saw Hornets beating the Pacers 122-100 on Kemba Walker's 24-10. And then they had 8 players scoring in double figures. So that was an all-around great game for the Hornets. They got a lot of potential. I think they're 5-1 so far in the season. And then
they are number 2 in the Eastern Conference, which is, I mean, it's the 6 games in, but it's still interesting.
That's good that's good for the Hornets. And then last night, Steph Curry breaking Kobe's record, 15 years it stood, most 3-pointers in one game. He shot 13 for 17. He was literally taking lots of contested shots, taking heat checks, and they were all just going in. And then the 13th shot, he cut into the double team. He literally cut into the double team and chucked it up and just went in.
Best shooter in basketball.
I don't think I could make 13 threes if you gave me 100 shots.
Unreal performance by him. He had 46 points on the day, and they beat the Pelicans too. And the Pelicans have a lot of potential because they got Anthony Davis and they got Buddy Hield, who's kind of having a cold start. But Anthony Davis is on a tear. The first game, what do you have? 50 points, 16 rebounds, 7 assists,
he filled the
5
stat sheet.
blocks. Oh my God! He's an MVP candidate, even if that team is not good. And then saw the Clippers dominate the Pistons, 114-82. Had Chris Paul, 24 points, 8 assists, 6 rebounds, flirting with a triple-double. So the Clippers had a great games. And then games I'm looking out for coming up. Bulls and the Hawks coming up tomorrow. And then Trailblazers and Clippers coming out tomorrow. Rapids and Thunder coming out tomorrow. It's going to be a good game. And then my favorite player, Dwayne Wade, returning to Miami on Thursday. It's going to be
Interesting matchup.
Very
there.
interesting. I don't know how the
see how
crowd's going
they
to react.
welcome him back to Miami. How that's going to be perceived. I think he's going to do well because all players left him. You see why he left because
how many years did he played there?
13.
13, 14.
Yeah.
He was in the 03 draft, probably the greatest draft class of all time.
He was with LeBron and so
Melo and Bosh.
There's a few
I
years.
think the 84 draft was pretty good too. That's the one that had Jordan and Barkley and Elijah Wan, and I feel was John Stockton in that? I think Stockton
so. Yeah,
was
that's up there. There was also one in the early 2000s. No, there was one in the early 90s.
Kwame Brown.
Oh my God.
No, there's one.
Wasn't there one that had Iverson and Garnett?
Yeah, that's the one I'm
96.
thinking of. 96,
That was 96.
Yeah.
No,
Kobe.
Garnett was 95.
There was a draft that had a bunch of good players in it, though. There's 3 draft classes that everybody argues about, which is always kind of fun and interesting.
Look it up real quick. 96, I know it was Garnett and Iverson.
Who do you guys think has been the most disappointing team? I mean, it's 6 games in, so you have to take it with a bit of grain of salt. But
Pelicans. Easily. Pelicans have so much potential. They have a lot of decent players on their team with Anthony Davis leading that team.
Anthony Davis is trying his hardest. I mean,
he's literally doing everything on the court. He's getting assists. He's getting boards. He's scoring.
I get the Pelicans, but I already knew the roster was bad besides Anthony Davis, so I'm not too surprised by that. My 2 are 2 teams I thought would be in the playoffs who are struggling right now. Indiana's 3-4, and then Minnesota's 1-4.
That's mine is Minnesota. Here I was a couple weeks ago, and I said they're going to probably be in the Western Conference Finals. I know that's bold, but I kind of thought it. And I found the 96 draft class, by the way. Allen Iverson, Ray Allen, Kobe Bryant, and Steve Nash.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then some good other talent around it. Jermaine O'Neal, Peja Stojakovic, Big Z.
Oh, Big Z, I love Big Z.
Antoine Walker, Stephon Marbury. Sharif Abdul-Rahim.
Yep.
I think he played for the Blazers for a while and was pretty
Yeah, there's
pretty
a lot.
solid.
That draft was really solid. 03, and of course the one with Michael and all them.
84 had, as I look it up right now, I think Elijah went number 1.
Yeah, when Olajuwon,
Elijah, and then Sam Bowie.
Then Jordan.
Portland,
went
Sam
3.
Perkins. Sam Perkins was an okay player.
Because Portland already had Clyde Drexler at shooting guard, so they didn't want another shooting guard. But they should. If they get Clyde and Michael on the same team. Sorry.
Oh my god.
Elijah, Jordan, Barkley, John Stockton, all in the top 16 picks.
The number
All
one
Hall of
pick's usually
Famers.
not the best one of that year.
Yeah,
But it's hard to.
time.
I see why Houston picked Olajuwon. Like, it's hard for them to, we didn't take Michael Jordan, but we took Hakeem Olajuwon, who was
Okay,
one of the best centers
Hakeem
of all time.
Olajuwon, he's like top 3
Elijah
centers of all time.
Elijah was a freak though when he came out of college. Like, you think about it, we hadn't really seen much like him before that until a guy named Patrick Ewing came along the next year and was basically Hakeem Olajuwon. But they were two different players. Yeah, I'm sure they would have probably preferred, looking back on it, to take Jordan.
But you can't
But,
kick yourself for taking Olajuwon.
No,
though.
how many championships did they end up winning? 2.
Yes, whenever
And
Michael went there, yeah. If you look at the NBA right now, there's 5 players averaging at least 30 points per game. You have DeMar DeRozan out of Toronto averaging 33.7, Damian Lillard averaging 32, James Harden averaging 31.6, and Westbrook and Davis averaging 30.4. There's 2 players averaging over 10 assists a game. You have James Harden at 12.7 and LeBron James at 10.7. This really impressive right there. There's only 1 player over 14 rebounds per game. It's Andre Drummond, of course.
Yeah,
Top 5 in blocks right now is Anthony Davis, Joel Embiid, Miles Turner, Hassan Whiteside, and Rudy Gobert.
Can we talk about Joel Embiid for a second?
I love
Process.
Joel Embiid.
Joel Embiid.
Trust the
Oh
process.
my God, he is a monster.
He's on my fantasy team.
I've been waiting for this. Oh my
Joel
God, he
Embiid,
could shoot, he could rebound, he could pass, he could do it all.
Did you see his movie he had the other night where he got the ball top of the key, drove down the baseline, put in one hand out there, faked it? Jeff Withey, poor guy. That's Kansas.
poor guy.
That's Kansas.
Pride.
No. He put
Oh
one
my-
foot out. Stop. Withey went flying by, turn around, little jump hook for the bucket. I'm like, Jeff Withey just made me look like a fool.
He was ready for this. He was so ready for
Yeah.
this. People were on Twitter talking about him being injury prone. He just came back and proved everybody wrong.
Yeah,
And you see the chase down block on LeBron?
That was
Yeah.
totally illegal, but it still was pretty cool.
Yeah.
The ball went off the backboard for video. That was still a really cool block.
Oh, yeah.
He
He
has
glassed it.
come a very, very long way from where he was at Kansas.
Yes.
Because he didn't play a lot of high school ball.
He was really raw going to
Yes,
Kansas.
very, very raw. So
Yep.
at Kansas, you could see at some points hey, this guy's going to be good. And now he's actually showing it, and people are like, whoa, where did this guy come from? We didn't have knee issues. Issues may not be the right word, but he did have problems with it for
I mean, right
a year
now,
and a half.
yeah, right now he's played 5 games, averaging 21 minutes per game and almost 18 points with 7 rebounds and 2.5 blocks a game. So, whatever. I mean, he's played
No big deal.
shooting 67% from the 3-point line, averaging over a make a game. So, whatevs.
Yeah, I mean, hey, that's kind of what the game's turning into also. You have to have a big man who can stretch
He's
the floor.
they say
I didn't
they
know
say he's 7
he was a
foot,
stretch big.
250, but he's 7'2". Like, he's grown since he came in the league, which is crazy. That you're 7 foot, you still grow. Like, he's 7'2" now. He's huge,
He is, yeah.
and he's so skilled. Like, I don't get how.
How people find these guys who are living, they come over from Africa, they do when they go to high school in New York, and they're like, well, I mean, you're tall, so can you play basketball? And they do.
And I feel like he actually one of the guys who actually wants to play basketball. Like, some of these guys are just big and like, oh, I guess, well, I'm 7 foot tall, so
Well,
I
I mean,
kind
I
of
can
told
make
to play
money
basketball.
that way at this point.
But I feel like he actually strives to be better and actually wants to play the game, which is always fun to watch.
Wait until
that.
Ben Simmons makes his debut, and then he's going to be dishing the ball to Joel Embiid, and that team might actually pick up some wins.
Yep, I hope so, because that could be a really interesting team. I like Ben Simmons in college. Everybody like he underperformed. He underperformed and averaged 28-8 or something like that. Like, he was underperforming and he was balling out. I'm like,
Yeah.
sorry, LSU's a dumpster fire. That's his only mistake is going to LSU.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's the only thing I got for that one. Like,
If-
he definitely should have been the #1 pick. So I
If
don't
Ben
know.
Simmons learns how to shoot the ball, it's over. It's over. I'm
And
telling
you know what? Magic
now.
can never shoot the ball whenever he's in the league. LeBron's never been a great shooter. He's been just fine.
I
Yeah.
haven't been listening. Who's Ben Simmons?
Wow.
All right.
Nah.
We're going to end the
Some
podcast
guy.
on that one right there. But it's been a great podcast. We'll be on YouTube every week, so check us out on that. And follow us on Twitter at X106_sports. This has been the X106 Podcast with Devin, Albertson, Jonathan Bynum, Nienow, and Trevor Maeder.